Lonely Monk Productions.
That's my joy! Hey, yo, displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure.
What's good, friends and family, neighbors near and far? Welcome to a special episode, I guess, of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast. The podcast, website, movement, way of life, dedicated to the embrace and championing of your passions. I'm your host, Nate Runkle, a.k.a. the 5-year kid. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the 5th anniversary of the release of episode 1 of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast. That's right, 5 years ago today, back in 2020, August of 2020, we released the first episode with my pal Randy Major. And boy, have we traveled together some places, my friends. Oh my God, what started out as like a little pandemic hang with me and some of my musician friends has really grown into something special, and I can't thank everybody enough. Not just the people who've guested on this show, the people who have helped out making this show, but all of you who've listened to the show, anybody who's even liked or commented or reviewed or done anything, given me any moment of your time. I am so appreciative and so happy to be celebrating 5 years. So excited that I forgot that it was actually the 5th anniversary until just last night. And that's why you're getting this emergency release. I'm not even recording this on a microphone. I'm actually driving home. I don't even know how this will sound. It'll probably sound like shit. But I'll probably use it anyway because cinema verite, my friends, live in the now. Oh, I don't know what to tell you. 5 years of this has been an absolute blessing. It's my greatest professional achievement, and I'm just so happy to continue to be able to do this. It's rare that I've worked on a project and stuck with it, especially when left to my own devices. And this has essentially been me running all this, and I didn't give up. Even though there's been breaks and little disruptions and things like that, we keep coming back. And what keeps bringing me back is awesome conversations. And so for the 5th anniversary, in a conversation with my good buddy Zach Eastman, who was a guest of the show back in the early days of season 4. It was 2 seasons ago, for anybody keeping track, because we're in season 6 now. Zach and I had this epically long conversation, and it got cut down, and it was still long. I think the episode released at an hour 45, something like that. But there was this half-hour chunk that I took out, and I completely forgot about it. It was back in 2023, and I completely forgot that this thing existed until Zach and I were talking today, and I went and I was like, whatever happened? I wonder if whatever happened to that excerpt. And I listened to it. And in the very beginning of this excerpt, which you are about to hear, I'm going to share it with you. I'm not just talking about it like, oh man, it was amazing and you guys can't hear it. No, you're going to hear it. It's coming up next as soon as I finish blabbering over here my face off. In the very beginning of it, almost synergistically, if that's even a word, I lay out why I created this podcast, and then Zach and I continue to have a conversation that is so specifically indicative of what I wanted this show to be, which is just a space for people to talk about things they like and just like things. And so I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to let you hear that. I don't know if there's going to be credits or not because, like I said, we're living in the now and I want to get this out. But 5 years, my friends, it's a lot of fucking Jawns, and there's a lot more on the horizon. And I thank you all for sticking with me. And I hope you, I hope to high five you someday. Fuck a high five. I hope to hug you someday. I love you guys. 5 years. Enjoy this conversation with Zach Eastman. And we'll catch you with a new episode of the show proper sometime soon in the near future. All right. Until then, blue skies. Until next time, everybody. Except for keep listening because the conversation with Zach starts now.
I would hope so.
You know, we were kind of talking off mic about fandom and stuff like that, but I think a good portion of it, and it's one of the reasons why I kind of created this, That's My Jawn website, podcast, brand, movement, way of life, whatever, is that I think people are afraid to just admit when they like something. Like, I think they're afraid and I think the internet plays a huge part in this. They're afraid of being shouted down because they just say, "Oh, I like that," like. So a lot of times people go into things, that they enjoy, ready to kind of nitpick, just to be like, look, I liked it, but like I'm not one of those people who just likes anything, and it's just this self-perpetuating like hatred fandom. I don't know. It's a very weird space that like I challenge, and I want people to just like things. God damn it.
Now here's a good thought exercise. I thought about this. The amount of film discourse that has blossomed into chaos over the last 7 years, it seems. And a lot of it, look, I love Martin Scorsese so damn much. He is so influential in what I enjoy watching and what I would aspire to do from a storytelling scheme on down to visuals. He expressed his opinion about Marvel films. That's it.
Yep. And
if you really, really want to just ignore it, you can put up that picture of Abe Simpson on the newspaper that says "old man yells at cloud." Like, you could do that, and some people did. Other people really took it personally. And
it's weird.
I was shocked because I was like, because I get both ends of the spectrum. I truly get it. I love snooty, pretentious films. I also like Captain America throwing a shield and hitting a bad guy in the face.
Yeah.
You can love both things. And what's so funny to me is that each side has to kind of push out their chest in a toxic masculinity fashion and just be like, no, Citizen Kane is the greatest film ever made. Fuck Paddington 2. And then I'm like, no, they can live together and they can solve mysteries together. Orson Welles and Paddington solving mysteries is the European road trip I want. like nobody wants to concede to any, nobody wants to have a nuanced discussion about it. It's either you're in one tribe or another. And I talked about finding our tribes. I've also learned that finding your tribe doesn't mean you can't also cohabitate with other tribes. It's possible. Trust me. I genuinely enjoy watching schlocky movies while at the same time enjoy watching the highest quality art that can exist on this planet. And I'm quick to point out what I like and don't like, but I always disclaim it with, this is my take on it. This is what I feel as a viewer. It does not dictate its importance.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of Ingmar Bergman. I'm sorry, but I objectively agree that he is one of the greatest filmmakers that has ever lived on this planet. I just can't get into his films the way other people do. Consequently, there are people who think Orson Welles is just this 1 to 2 hit wonder who fucking disappeared into Europe. And I'm like, no. My personal opinion is that he actually made great films after Citizen Kane. And a lot of times things that could have been amazing were fucked with by a studio. But nobody wants to have the nuanced discussion of like, okay, don't call one person or the other bad without considering all of the evidence. It's why, Scorsese has clarified his statements, and it's because he's worried about the film industry. And I think that that's the one argument that people should all be rallying behind, is that the film industry, specifically the theatrical film experience, is fucked. And there is very much a divide that people will regress down to the argument of like, well, if you tell a good story, people will come. And I'm like, no, they don't. They don't, because you literally can look at a box office return and see that. Box office doesn't mean anything unless it is actively preventing independent material or original material from having a place at the table. Like an example is Spider-Man No Way Home and Nightmare Alley coming out in the same weekend, which they're both they both have tentacles within the same company. I know that Spider-Man's a mess with Sony, but it's the same company. Nightmare Alley got shafted. That's one of our best directors of all time, refashioning in True Grit style the novel Nightmare Alley, so that it's a little bit further away from the original noir film in 1947 with Tyrone Power. That film tanked. And I saw that film in a theater, in a nearly empty theater. That film is remarkably well told. It's well executed, it's dark, it's gritty, and it's things that I love. But I get it. At Christmas time, not everybody's wanting to look for that.
Right.
But it should have had a better chance at the table than having every screen occupied by Spider-Man. And I feel like, unfortunately, the pandemic has put a lot of theaters into a position of we need what is guaranteed. And I wish that film fans would actively come together and realize we need to support all of it. You can't just support one end of the spectrum or another, because if you're not careful, all the things you love are going to go directly to streaming.
That's right.
You vote with your dollar. If
they even get to exist in streaming, as evident by the Warner Brothers and HBO Max. I mean, like, and to your point, I think one of the issues, it's not one of the issues, it's the issue, and it's been the issue since the 80s, and that is that looking at the film industry as a profit, a perpetual profit maker is the problem. If you look at it as an art form and you accept that sometimes you're going to lose money, but in the long term you're going to create culture and stuff like that, then these things will continue to get made. But as long as you're looking at a balance book and making decisions that way, you're just destined to only live in the mega blockbuster films.
And I'm not going to be a stonewall on this, because I understand from the business. You ever heard the term like film is a business? It's why they call it the film business. That is very true. There is a business and an art, and they're always at war with each other, and they're always stabbing each other in the back. And yeah. I've learned how to balance out how I address these issues. But then David Zaslav became head of Warner Brothers, and that's where everything started to become very, very fucking strange. Because I guess I didn't realize, maybe rather ignorantly, how much trouble Warner Brothers was in because of certain decisions they made, possibly with DC and possibly with other projects they were embarking on. I know that Harry Potter's kind of a touchy issue with them for multiple reasons. But to watch that their only solution is to cut their losses on projects that were in development in the can, or that they already owned and have been around for 50 years, suddenly just being removed or completely canceled entirely from their slates. I know that Batgirl's obviously the big elephant in the room that you address, but also the Looney Tunes, half their stuff got removed within the last 2 weeks. And I'm like, what the flying fuck? And that's why, instead of trying to be too negative on it, I went on to Ballyhoo and I'm like, here are the links to all of the Golden Collections, which are available from anywhere from $15 to $20. So if you really want like 50 cartoons that you can watch without the HBO Max commercials, this is your option. But you're right that they're not allowing a loss to occur. And I feel like the because you're playing a box office game and you're playing in a heavy corporate culture, they're never going to move away from that sentiment. A24 is the rare exception. A24 allows things to bomb. Mm-hmm. Because they found a steady way to keep their flow out, where even if one doesn't work, another one might subsidize the cost. Everything Everywhere All at Once is helping to subsidize, I'm sure, a lot of A24 products going forward in the next year or two. But it gives people chances. Like, people don't remember A24. One of their earliest projects was Tusk.
Yes.
Yeah, Tusk didn't do, from what I remember, I don't remember it doing incredibly well at the box office. And I don't attribute that to the movie not being good, because I like that film. I attribute that to people not knowing what to make of the film with everything that the film is. But also at the same point, they made it big the year before with Spring Breakers, so they could allow Tusk to exist and find its fan base over time. And I look at that as a positive. And then there's small things like, I'm trying to think of a good A24 example of you can allow something in A24 like The Green Knight to have a loss, because you also have Hereditary and Midsommar to back it up. And that also allows them to take a chance on a less horror-driven product from Ari Aster, like whatever Beau is Afraid is supposed to be. I'm still considering it called Disappointment Boulevard because that was the original title. So like that's something that I wish the major studios would go back into, and realizing that because their streaming services exist, it doesn't stop you from putting it on the streaming service, but give it a chance in the theater and see. You never know what's going to happen. Dumping it directly to streaming just makes it get lost in the fodder. And I applaud and decry Netflix at points because they will give Martin Scorsese $200 million to make one of the best films of 2019, despite what other people tell me. I really like The Irishman.
Hey, just needed an editor. That's all. Just need to cut that down. Or counterpoint.
We're a positive zone here.
or counterpoint. No, I absolutely love The Irishman. It's just it really should have. And I don't know why we ever got away from this in film. It really just needed an intermission. It's all it needed. It was just bring back the intermission for God's sakes.
That's a good point. Actually, there are points in that film where you could get the intermission card in there and be just fine.
Yeah,
I think with Netflix, it's easier to technically break it up into hour-long chunks like you would a television show. Yeah. That's why the Hateful Eight actually did it pretty well, where they're just like, all right, this is the extended version, and it's 4 episodes, and I, Quentin Tarantino, am supervising how this is split up. That's a good solution to it. But anyway, you were saying, though, like that, we get to the point of like, we want this stuff here, but then Netflix will bury everything else in the weeds, and we can't find it. We don't know that certain stuff exists. I'm convinced that Ballad of Buster Scruggs kind of got lost in the fray of The Irishman, which is like, it's a consequence of like one auteur beating another auteur in a game of chess. But, I wish that stuff would have visibility, and I wish it had a physical media option. Because that's the thing. You don't own what you're watching. You don't own what you're renting. You don't own what you're streaming. If you want to watch it and they take it off of the service, that's done. So like if Netflix is giving more stuff to Criterion, buy it. If you really love it, buy it. If you like Marriage Story, which first of all, I don't know if I could rewatch Marriage Story. I love the movie. I felt like I got hit by a bus with that movie in a good way. It's a very well made movie. But if you like Marriage Story, buy it on Criterion. Buy The Irishman on Criterion. If Prime is giving you the option to buy one of their TV shows, get it. If Stranger Things is one of your favorite shows in the world, get a physical copy. I beg you, because you have no idea what 20 years will look like. And somebody suddenly says, we don't need this on the platform anymore. But David
what
Cross
1 year will look like? What 2 years? Like you're being very positive on this. Like
if it weren't for the billions of dollars that Stranger Things probably generates in revenue, I would be convinced that they probably would get rid of it in a year, because they're like, well, it's done now. Like we finished it up. Everybody made peace with the Upside Down, and everybody's happy now, and there's daisies all over the Upside Down. But David Cross and Bob Odenkirk literally have a show on Netflix. How many people know that exists?
I forget about it all the time. Same thing with the 2 seasons of Wet Hot American Summer, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I still have not finished it because I keep forgetting that show exists.
Yeah, it's all buried in the weeds, and a lot of it, like, even when they do a great job of rebooting an IP like Wet Hot American Summer, there's just some stuff that they're shoving into the reboot territory where it's not making any room for an original voice to come out there and speak its mind. And giving it a chance to thrive is a big thing too, because they'll cancel a show super quick. I was livid when they canceled MST3K on Netflix. I was livid. I was like, you literally don't understand what MST3K is then if you canceled it, because that show built over time. And because it's been away for so long, you have to rebuild it.
Right.
You can't just assume this thing will take to everybody, because not everybody understands what it's like to be on the satellite of love. It's a vibe you've got to get used to.
There's a really fascinating article out that I just read today about how Netflix is kind of self-fulfilling its cancellations of shows because it's not giving people a chance to find it. So if it doesn't last, if it doesn't pick up right away, then they cancel it. But then people don't want to get invested in a show because they know that, they might not pick this up and it might get canceled. So it's just no one's jumping in early on unless it's something like Squid Game or something that like completely blows up out of the gates. But they're not giving a chance for these things to even find an audience before canceling it. And then because of that, no one wants to find anything on their platform.
It's the streaming equivalent of if this movie doesn't make $100 to $200 million on its opening weekend, we consider it a loss.
Yeah.
It's the exact equivalent. And it's also, you can look at it as Netflix going like, there's a foot in my mouth. Why do I just have a foot in my mouth? Yeah. Like it's that mentality has to stop. Like go big or go home is a stupid idea. It's a stupid idea unless you're trying to motivate yourself in a positive fashion. It is a stupid idea. That's not how business works. That's not how art works. At least to my mind. I could be wrong. Somebody can, tell me I'm full of shit. But I do feel like the amount of how much they're willing to like Avatar is actually a really good example of this. Like I just assumed that they just greenlit Avatar sequels and just said like when Disney bought Fox, they were just like, you can still do it. You can still do all of it. And then to hear James Cameron say, if this movie doesn't at least break even, I can't make 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I had to rewrite 3 so that I could end it if need be. Now, thankfully, and I do think this is a positive, thankfully, that movie hit its $2 billion mark so that he can keep doing this stuff he wants to do in Na'vi Land. But not everybody's afforded that same opportunity. And what's more, that threshold of box office is stupid. Martin Scorsese is beating this drum now, but like other filmmakers have beaten this drum before. Kevin Smith's done this, where it's just like this box office like opening weekend threshold means nothing. It means nothing to the longevity of your product. It means that you in the boardroom keep your job for another day. That's all. And to be honest, given the way the corporate structures have run Hollywood over the last 30 years, I frankly don't care. Like if they were to completely replace the board with a team of creative artists, it's why I'm actually thankful that James Gunn is at the head of DC now, because I'm like, he knows how to make a movie. It would make sense to put somebody who knows how to make a movie into the position of making an entire slate of movies. And I'm not my feelings of the DC universe as a whole aside, that's a smart decision. That's a smart business decision that also serves the creative community. We need more decisions like that. We need people at Disney that will allow experimentation to happen again, because they are really running off of their IP. I want another Fantasia or something equivalent to that. I want an experiment. I want an actual experiment on a grand scale. I want them to take a chance. The shorts program is a beautiful part of their slate. I need something bigger, and I need you to be able to take a chance on a filmmaker who has a Disney-like idea, but it is so off of the normal rails that you need to just have some blind faith and jump in. And I feel like we're as divided as we all are, we also cling to the things that we love when we're in stressful times. And I think that the film industry is doing the same. It's just clinging to what it knows. And it doesn't realize that every era of film has a cycle that wears out. And I hate to be this guy, but if it weren't for streaming, superhero films would have probably gotten pretty boring pretty quick. Right. But now the people who want it have access to it, and now it has a bigger audience. But that cycle's still going to wear out. At some point, the MCU will not be as appealing on the scale that it currently is. And that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that the cycle has run out. The people who grew up with it grow up and they want something different, Yeah.
One of the things, you talk about Disney and kind of allowing people to experiment and stuff. I think one of the other things that they did in this past year that I find absolutely fascinating, and it's one of my favorite things that's ever been created, not just in the IP that it was made, but is a series like Andor. And I feel like they need, if we're going to be in this universe where where IP drives everything. I want people to take more risks with their IP and let people experiment and play in it. Like and this is my own pitch that I'm sending out there. Like I have this action film that I've always wanted to make that is actually a romantic comedy set in the universe of Fox action films, so like Die Hard and Speed and all of that, right? And it's all about a guy who is always in the background of all of these events happening, falling in love with a woman that he met who's always in the background of all of these events. And every time he tries to like approach her to ask her out or something, John McClane shows up or
Alan Rickman falls out of a building.
Exactly. So it's all these things. And then like there's this whole subplot where like she has this boyfriend who's a dick who doesn't treat her well. And then it turns out he's actually the henchman of an action movie that doesn't exist. So it's our guy has to fight this henchman while in the background, the world is at stake, but all he's fighting is just this one guy. Anyway, it's a beautiful thing. But what I'm saying is I want more things like that. I want people to like paint in the outside, in these kind of grand IP experiments. I want people to be able to experiment and make like, I don't know if you know this or not, that George Lucas wanted David Lynch to do Return of the Jedi. Okay.
I still want that movie to happen.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like Disney should let David Lynch like take some very weird background character like Queequeg or something like that and be like, you can do whatever you want with this character. Just do whatever. And just
anything?
Let him exactly. Let David Lynch make a fucking weird Queequeg film that has no weight on the grand universe, but is a fucking David Lynch film in the Star Wars universe. Stuff like that, like
have Cameron Crowe do a miniseries about the Max Rebo band.
Exactly. I want to rock. Oh my God, that would be beautiful. But like those kind of things, like if this is the world we're living in, at least be creative with it, and the people will come.
Yeah, people will come to that IP if they love it. Even if they decry it online, they'll go to it.
Exactly.
Like people went to Last Jedi, even if they hated it, and they, and people went to Rise of Skywalker, even if they hated it. Like pretty much the whole sequel trilogy. I don't want to get into that.
Sequel trilogy, prequel trilogy. People just hate things.
Oh, and that's the thing. It's so funny because the prequel trilogy has had this resurgence of people my age being unafraid to say I like the prequels, which I have always like had to like disclaimer it. Now I can be like, look, this whole thing is about a space wizard on a farm who finds out he has magic powers, and so all of it, no matter what direction they take it, I'm like, it's fantasy. Did Star Wars stuff happen in Star Wars? It did. All right, I'm satisfied. I saw a lightsaber. I saw a spaceship. I saw some heavy breathing. I'm set.
Well, here's the funny thing about that is we every year rewatch this Star Wars holiday special at Christmas, and we celebrate Life Day. And one of the greatest things about it is in that everybody's in it, and everybody is just like horrible. Except for Harrison Ford is just as good in the holiday special as he is in the original trilogy. And this year it clicked to me why that is. And that is because everybody else thought the holiday special was fucking goofy, and that's how they're just not giving it any attention like that. Whereas Harrison Ford has thought the whole fucking thing has been goofy the entire time. Yep. So his performance doesn't change because it's all bullshit to him.
Yeah, his entire performance through line in Star Wars is disinterested.
Yeah,
and Han Solo doesn't want to be anywhere.
Exactly, and that's the thing. So like. But yeah, it's always been a kids thing, and it was always meant to be a kids thing. I don't know if you've ever heard Lucas talk about how the Star Wars trilogy is to him telling the story of a child becoming an adult, and it's just the questions of adolescence, and that's what the main basis of Star Wars is. And so when you get older and you start trying to follow that through line again, it seems preposterous because being a kid is preposterous.
Which is why I don't understand. I guess this bleeds into my opinion about The Last Jedi, which I like that movie a lot. It baffles me that people got upset for them to try to make adult decisions in Star Wars, because it's almost like you ask for things to be taken seriously and then they take it seriously and you're like, what's going on here? We're like, but I really genuinely have, like, I still admire Star Wars for what it is and what they've been able to do with it. I've caught up with most of The Mandalorian. I've still got some stuff to finish. I've seen bits and bobs of the Clone Wars show that was actually really good at tying a lot of elements together of the in between. But like I always have to keep, because of what Star Wars has become as a fandom. And what I've kind of realized it's always been as a fandom, I have to go back and I have to separate myself from it. And the way I do it is I remember my favorite Star Wars story ever, which is the story of Alec Guinness talking to a little child fan about Star Wars. This little kid goes up to him and says, Mr. Guinness, will you sign this for me? And I guess it was a Star Wars item of some kind. And he just looked down and said, I'll tell you what, little boy, I'll sign this for you if you swear never to watch Star Wars again. And sent the kid crying. and that sounds mean. And I would never condone that in real life. But I hear that with hindsight and I'm like, yeah, because Alec Guinness didn't even give a shit about this. So you have to kind of put it into perspective of like, it's a movie and it's a job. It's make-believe that you get paid for. And the fact that it has such a dedicated fan base is amazing. It's so wonderful that you get immersed in the world. But it's like anything, you have to have balance. And I don't think that people have... I don't think that balance has been found yet in the fandom. I think it will. I'm optimistic, but...
It's literally the premise of the entire saga is balance.
Oh my God, we cracked the code.
It is literally what it is about.
But nobody wants to stand on a balancing beam
no
the rest
one
of
wants
our life.
to fucking balance, man. That's it.
Hey, darling, won't you let me share the light? I'm tired of all the darkness tonight. You look so beautiful in white. So darling, let me share the light. Trying to get out of this place. You look so delicate in lace. Let me take a rocket into space. So can you help me leave this place? Want to breathe life into me. Can you be the one for me?
Yo, That's My Jawn is a Lonely Monk production, written and produced by yours truly, Nate Runkle. Theme song by me, under the moniker Nate 3.0. Special thanks to Fox Run Brands, DX Ferris, Andrew Scott, Maggie Poulos, Dan Drago, Natalie Runkle, and the beautifully vibrant and wickedly stunning Katie Dogny. If you or anyone you know has any ideas they would like to share or any guests they would like to hear on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to us at yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com or hit us up on the socials at yothat'smyjawn. Until next time, be sure to displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. Tilt your head back and shout to the world, yo, that's my Jawn.